you look for it while I do this. Call to order the Clarksville-Montgomery County Board of Education meeting. Everyone can all stand and say a pledge of allegiance and have a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item tonight on the agenda is public Point of Pride Awards, and we have several, I'm glad to say. Dr. Linnevetter.
Yes, Anthony Johnson, our Chief Communications Officer. We will see how long his voice lasts tonight, and let's see how he does with his pronunciation of all the names that we have tonight. Excited to see everyone here.
Yes. Good evening, board. As you can see, we have lots of points of pride this evening, and I do want to acknowledge that we actually have quite a few who can't be here tonight, but for another good reason. Several of our wrestlers who won in the state championship are tonight at the Dream Team banquet in Middle Tennessee, getting additional recognition, and many are there to support them. So fortunately, we do have several, but we're going to get started, but I did want you to know that we'll have several wrestlers missing. Our first points of pride will be our JROTC J-Lab champions. Both of these teams are advancing to the final level in Washington, D.C. in June. They will compete against other JROTC teams from across the nation, from Army, Navy, and Air Force JROTC. And I will be honest, I have lost count at how many times these schools have been here achieving this honor. And so just congratulations to them and welcoming them back again tonight. So first, we'll start with the Montgomery Central High School JROTC leadership team, if they could please come forward. Cadets on this team include Kenneth Reese, Shelby Epps, Graydon Cochran, Ray Black, and their instructor, Command Sergeant Major James Manning. Congratulations, Montgomery Central, and we're going to be rooting for you in June. And next, if the Northwest High School JROTC academic team could please come forward. Cadets on this team include Charlize Shoffett, Brody Jenkins, Jared Freeberg, Aria Graves, and their instructor, Chief Warrant Officer Retired John Perez. Congratulations to the Northwest High School team. All right, our next honor is historic for CMCSS. If I could please have the Richview Middle School basketball team to please come forward, your coaches and administrators as well. And I will note, I found out just right before, we also have several of the basketball players who are also baseball players. So I know many probably cannot be in attendance tonight. But we are excited to have this point of pride for the Richview Middle School boys basketball team, who are the Class AAA runner-up. This is the first CMCSS middle school team to ever play for a state title. And they played a fantastic game. Mr. Slight was giving us play-by-plays, and I was on the edge of my seat as they played against a team that had 3 consecutive undefeated years, but still played an amazing game. So we're so excited to celebrate them tonight. The members of this team include Owen Ahern, Max Andre, Sean Houston, Alexander Hines, Ari Hines, Jackie's House, John Kent, Bo Parcells, Cliff Pember, Joshua Pember, Matthew Prosser, Tucker Shields, Harrison Smith, Spencer Stanley, Camden Sutton, Robert Vance, Ransley Wares, Brody Wilkins, Major Williams, Eli Youngs, their managers Brantley Boisseau, Jeremiah Moon, Hudson Peterson, and coaches Buckholtz, Ahern, and Baggett. And congratulations again on this historic win. All right, so next we are going to move over to all of our wrestling champions, and I know several aren't going to be here tonight, but if I could have all of the Clarksville High School wrestling team members that are here tonight, along with your admin and your coach representatives. Members of this team include Ava Johnson, Nora Pena Corona, Maya Erminelli, Atiana Atkins, Kaylee Durham, Chloe Kemmerlin, Annette Rodriguez, Tatiana Pena Corona, Angel Robles, London Freeman, JC Cox, Macy Dallfield, Asia Starks, Brooklyn Calico, Millie Hobach, Lily Wallen, Lovely Watkins, Madison Livingston, Val Ortiz, Sierra Hoy, Jonathan Bowie, JC Cox, Ava Shelton, Emma Husser, Alea Allen, Sonia Whiteside, LaCour Obermuller, Liara Fisher, Alyssa Michaelanko, and their coaches Badon Johnson, Manholland, Ransom, Whiteside. This team, as a complete team, were runner-up in the girls wrestling duels and third place in the state in the girls individual champions. In addition to the team honors, we had Tatiana Pena Corona, who won second place in the girls 114, and Ava Johnson, who won second place in the girls 138. Congratulations, Clarksville High. I'm going to confirm, but I did get a note, Kirkwood High School. Just wanted to make sure Kirkwood's not here. I don't think so. This name is going to be no stranger. I think she's been here already twice this year, but Janiyah Johnson was second place in the girls 165. Congratulations to her, and of course she is tonight at the Dream Team Banquet. From Northwest High School, if I could have Sally Johnson and Tyranora Munin to please come forward, along with your coaches and admin representatives. In the state championship, Sally Johnson placed second in girls 145, and Tyranora Munin placed fourth in girls 185. Congratulations. And from Rossview High School, next, if I could have, are they here tonight? They might both, oh, there you are, great. From Rossview High School, if Nevada Wildheart and Talon Atkinson, along with their coaches and admin representatives, could please come forward. We're excited to share that Nevada won second place in the state in the girls 126, and Talon won fourth place in the girls 165. Congratulations. All right, thank you all. And next, I'm going to confirm, I think, is anyone here from the West Creek High School wrestling team? I think they said they were all going to be at the banquet. Either way, we will just check, okay? We'll still recognize West Creek High School. They were the girls' traditional wrestling champions with 152 points and were third place in the girls' wrestling duels. Members of this team include Elizabella Lauren, Judy Liv, Traylon Lauren, Jahil Velis Almovedar, Gemma Kearney, Siriana Berrios, Elise Rankin, Nahet Mojica Soto, Lexi Dean, Mariana Bowen, Mackenzie Simmons, Ireland Lauren, Jasonia Bearfield, and their coaches Budashem, Avila, Binkley, Fergie, Gutierrez Arroyo, McAvoy, and Vaugh. They also had individual winners, including Siriana Berrios, who is third place, Lexi Dean, second place, in the girls 132, and I'm sorry, Sariana was in third place in girls 114. Mariana Bowen, first place in the girls 138, and tonight, probably as we speak, is being named the female wrestler of the year at the Dream Team Banquet. Ireland Lauren, first place girls 185, and Jahil Velis Almodovar, second place girls 235. And then on the boys, we had Stanford Thompson, who placed fourth in the boys AA 190. Congratulations to West Creek High School. One more. And if I could have all of the Montgomery Central High School wrestlers that are here this evening, both boys and girls, to please come forward. No? They are all at the banquet. All right, but that's okay. If I could have Miss Gilmore, though, to please join Miss Housen up here. So I want to recognize the individuals Easton Dediamoff won first place in the girls 100. Jocelyn Colossi, third place in the girls 138. Audrey Lewandowski, second place in the girls 152. Craig Suttereth was second place in the boys A138. Jeremy Mills, second place in the boys A150. And tonight, we have a special honor for Emmanuel Gilmore, a senior at Montgomery Central High School who suffered a serious injury during the TSSAA wrestling sectionals. All who know Emmanuel have shared that his spirit is unbreakable. His strength, determination, and heart have always defined him, not just as an athlete, but as a person. And we have no doubt that same spirit will carry him through his recovery. To Emmanuel and the Gilmore family, we want you to know that your community and the wrestling community, both here and across the country, stand with you. We are sending our love, prayers, and support. Right now, Emmanuel is in the best hands, receiving top care at the Shepherd Center in Atlanta. And we know he's giving this recovery everything he's got, like he has everything in life. We look forward to the day we can recognize him in person to celebrate his journey, strength, and perseverance. There have been several fundraisers. I hope you all have seen those. And in fact, on Sunday, March 30th at 4 p.m., there will be a fundraiser at Real Life Sango. And there's also a GoFundMe to support Emmanuel's road to recovery. Tonight, accepting his point of pride on behalf of Emmanuel is his incredible mother, who is also a beloved driver supervisor for the Central area. Please join us in showing our love and support for Emmanuel and his family. And board, that concludes this evening's Points of Pride.
Our next item is public conversation. We have one person signed up to speak. It's Ms. Catherine Reynolds. Is she here? Okay. Mr. Reynolds, you'll have you press a button there to the left. The light will come on when the microphone is red. It's hot. It will start flashing. We have 1 minute to go. It will cut off at the end of 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. School board members hold a special responsibility, not just to students and families, but to the ethical standards they agreed to uphold. The Code of Ethics is a commitment to provide equal opportunities for all students, to keep politics out of education, and to put children first, always. Tonight, I want to talk about how recent attacks from the state legislature, from vouchers to diversity, equity, and inclusion bans to partisan school board interference, not only hurts our schools, but endanger that ethical promise. Before we dive in, let's take a moment to recognize the people who keep our schools running: custodians, cafeteria workers, teachers, staff members, and administrators. Your dedication is why CMCSS remains one of the best in the nation, even though Tennessee ranks 45th in funding. That's no small feat. Tonight, we celebrated the growth of girls' athletics. But let's be clear, without diversity, equity, and inclusion, opportunities like girls wrestling wouldn't exist. DEI isn't about lowering standards, it's about fairness. Without it, progress disappears. I recently learned that 2 of our school board members, Ms. Berry and Mr. Garland, attended segregated schools. They saw firsthand that separate but equal is a lie. Funding, resources, and opportunities are not the same. So when they speak up for public education, they're not playing the race card, as has been suggested. They're speaking from experience, and we should listen. Yet some legislatures are pushing HB 622, the Dismantle DEI Act. It bans hiring decisions that consider race, gender, disability, and is gutting protections for our marginalized communities. They call it fair, but we know better. Meanwhile, out-of-state corporations spent $800,000 on a state representative race, not for the students, but to buy votes in Nashville. You can't be partisan from 9 to 5 and claim nonpartisanship at 6 p.m. Public education isn't a political game. It's about our kids' future. Our school board's own ethics policy states that the school board members will provide equal educational opportunities for all students, regardless of ability, race, or location. Represent the entire school community, not partisan politics. Refrain from using the school board position for personal or partisan politics. The same legislators attacking DEI are targeting students and their families with unconstitutional bills that violate these principles. House Bill 793 lets districts refuse to enroll undocumented children. House Bill 145 forces immigrant parents to pay tuition for public school. House Bill 746 requires U.S. birth certificates or passports for all students to enroll. These bills hurt public schools. They create red tape, financial strain, and deny children an education, violating our ethical responsibility as a community. State politicians want to take power from local school boards. House Bill 779 lets the state accredit schools without local input. House Bill 1250 limits school board authority, shifting decisions to state officials. A school board member cannot weaken public schools at the state level and then claim to support schools back home. That's a betrayal. The most recent ridiculous bill is House Bill 1250, allowing untrained chaplains access to our students. However, they cannot be sued, even if they harm vulnerable students, and they operate with no administrative oversight. If legislators truly care about children, they should invest in trained counselors, not muddy the waters between church and state. Our children deserve leaders who put education over politics, who uphold their ethical responsibility to serve every student, not just a privileged few. That means defending local control and rejecting state overreach, providing equal opportunities for all students, protecting public schools from partisan politics that drain resources and weaken oversight. It comes down to doing the right thing for our children, our schools, and our community. We must hold our leaders accountable to the commitment they made to act in an ethical manner. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is approval of consent agenda. Have a motion from Ms. Berry. Have a second from Mr. Garland to approve consent agenda. All in favor, please indicate by open to vote. Is everyone satisfied with your vote? Please close the vote. That passes 7-0. Next item is policy monitoring. Dr. Lundvetter.
Board, please find in your board packet information on Executive Limitation 5, Financial Administration. This executive limitation has 12 compliance expectations to ensure the Director of Schools shall not cause nor allow fiscal jeopardy or material deviation from the annual budget or budget policy adopted by the board. All revenues are scheduled to be spent in accordance with the approved budget. No funds have been borrowed to date for the current fiscal year without approval, nor have funds been expended from the fund balance without prior authorization. The actual ending fund balance will always be greater than 3% based on current levels of revenue and expenditures. Payrolls are processed per the published calendar, and all other obligations are paid in a timely manner. Purchases are made consistent with state and district procurement codes. Sufficient internal codes are in place as documented in the annual financial audits. In addition, all board accounts are audited annually by the State Comptroller's Office. Likewise, individual school accounts are audited per a contract with certified public accountants, and receivables are pursued as appropriate. Updates regarding revenue collections, rising costs, and capital projects are provided to the board through our sessions. To conclude, any proposed changes to the budget are approved by both board and county commission, and quarterly financial reports are provided to both the board and county commission. Chairman Griffey, this concludes Executive Limitation 5.
Thank you, Dr. Vetter. Is there a motion to approve this report? And did I hear a second? Okay. Second from Chris. Any discussion? Please open the vote. Is everyone satisfied with their vote? Please close the vote. Passed 7-0. Next item, rezoning.
Board, please find in your board packet information on Executive Limitation 12, rezoning. This executive limitation has 3 compliance expectations. Because due to the fact that demographics change and populations increase or decrease, the Director of Schools shall not fail to recommend and implement rezoning decisions to include equitable distribution of resources to all impacted schools. The project team is championed by the Director of Schools. There is public feedback received and public hearings are held. The initial zoning recommendation for the 24-25 school year was shared with the board on December 12th, 2023. The final recommendation was presented January 2nd, and the zoning plan was approved on January 22nd. Phase 1 implemented Kirkwood Elementary, and Phase 2 is implementing the Freedom Elementary School set to open in 2026. Chairman Griffey, this concludes Executive Limitation 12.
Do I have a motion to approve this report? Motion from Mr. Garland. Second from Ms. Berry. Any discussion? Discussion is now closed. Please open the vote. Is everyone satisfied with your vote? Please close the vote. It passes 7-0. Next item is reports. Dr. Lindenvetter.
Board, I would like to welcome Stacy Sohn to the podium to present. She is going to be presenting on goal number 6, improving employee morale and retention.
All right. Board discussion and consideration. I'm sorry, I was not looking up and I should have been. Go right ahead.
No worries. Good evening. I'm Stacy Sohn. I am the Employee Relations Specialist for the district. And we'll start out, I wanted to I know my colleagues in HR shared our most recent retention data with you in the fall, but I wanted to share it briefly again and provide an update with our current status for this year. So far this year, we've had 171 teacher resignations versus 319 total last year. These numbers represent employee resignations and do not include teachers who were on a 1-year permit who were released when their permit expired. We currently have 233 classified support staff resignations compared to the 404 total for last school year. And looking at retirements, we've had 46 certified retirement applications submitted so far versus 43 total last year, and 37 classified applications submitted versus 58 total last year. Of course, we know we have a few more months left in the year, and there will be some additional resignations and retirements that trickle in. However, if we continue this trend, we are on track to see improved retention for this school year. And looking at the data, it is helpful to remember that fewer college students are entering traditional educator preparation programs, which results in us hiring more teachers on emergency permits. You can see how the trend has increased from the 1920 school year, with only having 4 permitted teachers, to this year, where we have requested 231 permits. So in addition to not only filling our positions, a secondary focus is working to move those permitted teachers to a license. We'll talk more later about the supports that we have put in place to make that happen. We know that in order to keep our employees, we have to understand their needs. We need to know both what we are doing well and where we can improve. One way we do this is through our continued partnership with Upbeat to collect anonymous feedback from our employees based on what research says most closely ties to employee retention in education. The surveys are deployed twice a year, and the district leadership works closely with principals and department heads to review data, set specific goals, create action plans, and provide support in reaching those goals throughout the year. Of course, feedback is most useful when you can be assured that you are hearing everyone's voice. One of our goals has been to improve survey completion rates to ensure the data is truly representative of all employees. We're very pleased that we are making steady progress in reaching our goal of 90% completion district-wide. You can see that our teachers have moved from 81 to 89% over the deployment cycles, and our classified support staff completion has increased a whopping 15% since we began collecting feedback in 2022. Now let's take a look at our overall workplace satisfaction scores. To calculate this score, Upbeat takes the individual question responses and calculates them into an average category positivity score. The category scores are then weighted based on what research shows is most closely tied to employee retention in education. And then those weighted categories are combined to create the overall satisfaction or positivity score for each of those surveyed groups. We can see that overall, our teacher score has climbed 9 points since fall of 2022, and our classified score has consistently hovered around 69. Also, I want to point out that in our reporting dashboard, Upbeat gives us the ability to see our scores compared to the overall, what they call the global report for all the schools that use this survey. And currently, we are at the same score, hovering right there with the global score. So our scores are very consistent with the overall scores for all of the schools across the nation that use the Upbeat survey. We're hopeful to see an increase in both completion rates and overall scores for our classified staff after this current survey window closes, because we really just aren't pleased with that hovering score. But we do know, as we mentioned from the previous slide, we are hearing from more of our classified employees, and so that's a big plus. We hope to see the completion and the score increase after this current deployment that we're in. All right, so let's take a moment to see what we're doing really well. For our teachers, here you can see our highest scoring categories. Our highest category, equal opportunities, reflects teachers' views about the number of opportunities available to them, being valued and feeling respected regardless of their race, ethnicity, culture, or other aspects of personal identity. Care and commitment represents how well teachers care about the well-being of students and their willingness to go above and beyond to support those students. The inclusive practices category represents how well administrators, teachers, and the school as a whole work together to ensure all students and families in the community feel that they belong there. The instructional leadership category reflects teachers' views about the effectiveness of the principal in the school in using data to ensure a clear vision for teaching and learning. Lastly, self-efficacy speaks to the teacher's feelings of how successful they are in supporting both academically and social-emotionally for their students. So what are our areas for improvement in our teacher scores? Let's take a look. Here you can see our top areas for growth. Most of these categories are self-explanatory, but I would like to point out that the school safety and order category contains questions about both the physical safety of the building and student behavior. It's important to note that the questions about physical safety of the building scored 87 and 88. The questions around successfully managing and supporting student behavior ranged from 65 to 72, thus dropping the category score down to 76. You all heard from our district behavior support team recently about the great work that's happening to address the concerns around student behavior, and we're looking forward to seeing the upcoming data from these same questions as we continue to make this area a high priority. Before moving on, I would like to point out the significant growth that we have had in all of these lowest scoring categories since our first deployment in fall of 2022, especially the compensation and career path category, a giant 16 points. We're very proud of these gains and will work toward continued growth in all areas. Let's take a look at our classified staff highest areas. Here we see that some of these areas of strength are similar to what we saw in our certified teacher responses. Additionally, we see a great score for recruiting, hiring, and onboarding, which tells us that our classified staff felt welcomed as a new employee and they were provided clear expectations for what their jobs would look like. We also see a strong score for satisfaction and purpose, which reflects an employee's feelings of having a sense of purpose in their role, along with how satisfied they are just being an employee in their school. Now let's look at our areas for growth for classified staff. Again, we see a few of the same growth areas that we saw for our teachers. For compensation and career path, I do want to point out that we are 6 points higher than the Upbeat Global score for our classified employees here, and we have had that great gain from 48 to 58 over the last deployments over the last 2 years. We do see a need for improved employee voice and leadership, which indicates that employees would like to be included in more of the decision-making processes that affect their work. We also see that we have some work to do in professional learning for this group. While the specific question data shows that employees feel their work environment does, in fact, support their professional growth, the concern is that the specific learning they receive doesn't always help improve their work. From my experience with the feedback I've received in exit interviews this year, I can share that much of this gap seems to stem from the unique behavior needs of our most severe behavior students. We know that there's no cookie-cutter response to support each child's needs, as they are all unique. So oftentimes it can require a trial and error system to see what works and what doesn't work for each student. This takes time and lots of work, which our behavior support teams are doing, but it can often feel unproductive if we don't see positive student responses right away. In addition to our Upbeat survey feedback, we also ask exiting employees to complete a survey. Our exit surveys ask many questions, including an open-ended response for suggestions, but we're just going to take a quick look at our top areas of strength and growth. Here we see that benefits, professional learning opportunities, and feedback on job performance were among the highest areas of satisfaction, with 78%, 64%, and 58% respectively, responding that they were either satisfied or extremely satisfied with these areas. Conversely, we see our lowest categories with 64, 53, and 47% of respondents feeling either dissatisfied or extremely dissatisfied in these areas. It is important to note that for teachers, we've had a 48% response rate on the exit surveys this year so far, which is similar to last year's rate of about half. While we find this exit survey data useful, we certainly want to keep the response rate in mind that these numbers only represent perspectives from about half of the 15% or so teachers who resign. Overall, our Upbeat data gives us a much clearer picture of the collective whole. Here we have our classified exit survey data. Again, be mindful that with this group, we only have a 25% response rate, which means we're only hearing from 1/4 of the 20% of classified employees who have left the district. So, let's shift gears. What are some of the things we're doing to continue increasing our employee satisfaction? We know that it is crucial for employees to have all the resources and support they need to feel that they belong, are valued, and feel like they can be successful in their work. We saw earlier in our exit data that employees feel great satisfaction with the benefits we provide them. Our HR outreach meetings allow us to be in buildings and communicate one-on-one with staff to ensure they are aware of all the benefits available to them in CMCSS. This year, I've met with 525 employees so far, and I still have 5 more locations to go. During these meetings, employees can ask me about anything, but our most common topics tend to be understanding our retirement plan and steps to ensure that their teaching licenses are up to date. Part of being our best is also taking care of our physical well-being. Our Alive and Well program creates opportunities for employees to both engage in physical activity and build a sense of community within the district. Here you can see our current enrollment numbers and some of our activities we've had this year. And board members, I do want to note that in the slides that you received earlier today, in the last bullet point, the number was miskeyed for the amount of weight loss, and so this number shown on the slides now is the correct number. Physical well-being is only one piece of the puzzle. Our Employee Assistance Program offers access to counseling, financial and legal advice, and concierge-type assistance in finding whatever resources an employee needs to be mentally and emotionally supported, all at no cost to the employee. Additionally, our on-site clinic now has 2 full-time counselors who are dedicated to supporting our employees for emotional well-being. These are some of the resources available to our employees, but let's shift gears and look at some of the ways we are recognizing the outstanding work of our people. Each year, we have our Teacher of the Year and Classified Employee of the Year celebrations, along with a district-wide monthly focus on a specific classified employee group. Our communications department does an amazing job of highlighting these individuals and groups on our social media platforms to ensure our parents and community have an opportunity to share in these celebrations. Internally, we have our HeartWorks system, which allows employees to send a digital shout out or thank you to a fellow employee to show appreciation for a job well done. This year, we have already had 9,578 HeartWorks sent by employees, which is over 1,000 more than in April of last year, and we're still in March. We also celebrate employees with work milestones or anniversaries by printing individual certificates for each, which are then shared and celebrated at the schools by principal or supervisor. We are so grateful to have our morale grants available again this year from our Education Foundation. So far, $61,670 have been awarded among 38 schools, with the morale efforts supporting more than 4,000 of our employees. We celebrate our retirees each year with a beautiful dinner and ceremony, and we also provide tenure certificates for those teachers who've earned their tenure. Our transportation department has multiple recognition incentives that you can see here, and of course, there are hundreds of school-level activities and events that take place all throughout the year to show appreciation for our employees. Some of these activities range from pushing a Woot Woot goodies and treats wagon through the school for staff to enjoy, to having a food truck on site, or treats catered, like you see in this photo from Crumble Cookie. We even had one school who treated all of their employees and their family members to an evening performance at the Roxy Theater. While all of these are wonderful, we know that we still have more work to do. That's why it's imperative that we continue to gather feedback from our employees. We talked in depth about some of our feedback tools, but here's a list of all the ways we continue to communicate with and collect feedback from our employees. As we move forward, we will continue to focus on collecting feedback, reflecting, and action planning, improve our HR outreach model to ensure all employees understand what is available to them, continue to host employee recognition events, make employee compensation a priority and continue market analysis to ensure competitive salaries, Provide focused support for our new teachers, which includes the repurposing of 5 district positions who are fully dedicated to new teacher needs and support, providing a classroom management workshop for permit and job-embedded teachers so they're prepared with the needed skills before they ever step foot in their classrooms, offering gather and grow sessions monthly to help with high-need areas, and offering praxis exam support both online and in person for any teachers in pathways that need support in this area. We also want to make sure our leaders have the knowledge and skills to apply best practices for retention in their buildings and their departments. So we are increasing our engaged leadership sessions, creating a new Leadership Elevation Academy, and we will continue the vital work that's being done in our Aspiring Assistant Principal Academy. Thank you so much for your attention this evening. Do you all have any questions for me?
Ms. Bryant.
Yes, thank you. Just a couple questions. First of all, you did say that these are anonymous, right? The school doesn't have access to who answered what.
That is correct.
Okay. And you said that there were some individual answers in the exit interviews that were available. Where are those?
So for any employee who marks on their resignation form that they're dissatisfied, or for teachers if they are leaving to teach in another district, I reach out via email to those employees and offer them an opportunity to either meet with me or do a phone call with me so I can just collect more information about what were those factors that, influenced you to leave, and why were you dissatisfied when you left. Their responses I keep and I chart in my own private notes. I look for trends, and then I provide that to my supervisor, the Chief Human Resources Officer, so she can pass that along in senior leadership.
Gotcha. I know that you said that one of the trends is that the unique behavior needs is a big reason that teachers leave. This is something that I hear a lot from teachers. I didn't see really that in the plan moving forward. Do you guys have a plan for supporting the teachers in that area?
We do. That really falls under our instruction department with our behavior support teams. I don't know if Dr. Dowdy, would you like to weigh in on that?
So this was the plan that we outlined a few weeks ago, and are continuing work on that, and the work that we started really last year. So we're really only in the middle of year 2 with that work, and we talked about some of those continued supports that will continue. It's a lot of training time. We've added those BCBAs that are going out to support in classrooms as well, and so I can reshare that presentation that has all of those plans outlined if you'd like for us to.
Yeah, I do remember that presentation. A couple more, and I'll be done. I know other people have questions. The other thing I noticed was that the permits to licenses at the beginning of the presentation, I'm going to pull it there so I can get exact numbers. So in 2024 to 25, there were 231 permits, and 44 of those moved to licenses. Can you just explain a little bit more about what the permits are? I would think if somebody, and this is just my lack of knowledge in this, but if somebody were to go through the process of doing a permit, why is that not a bigger retention in that numbers?
That's a great question. So
Can I chime in?
I'm sorry.
Can I chime in on
Absolutely.
that? So I do want to reiterate, if they're on a permit, they have 3 years to move to licensure. So if you start as a permit, you have, and really that's a lot of times it's a praxis, it's more education. So if I'm on year 1, it might take me a couple of years to either pass the praxis so I did want to reiterate that point, that it's not just you can do that up to 3 years.
So say there's 231 that are in permits, maybe some of them still have several years to go before they officially get
Correct.
a permit. Okay.
Yes, and I'll just add to what Dr. Lunevetter said. So in my presentation, I mentioned it is a 1-year permit. So the state only issues the permit for a 1-year period Any person can apply for a permit, like she said, up to 3 times is the max. So they can reapply for that permit on for second and third year. At that point, they are released from employment with us at the end of the year. They have to reapply under a permit as a new applicant again. So their position isn't held if they were on a permit and they weren't able to move to their job embedded license, which entails, like she said, passing those praxis exams.
Okay. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Nelson.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. It seems like the numbers are moving in the right direction based on the information you've given us. My question is, you mentioned that where we fall in comparison to other schools, in other areas, are they doing it by the survey by districts or by individual schools? And do you know where the majority of those schools are as far as, I know we said Tennessee we fall 45th as far as funding and everything else. Are there similar schools or similar districts that are being measured under this?
So I don't have those specific schools with me, but what I can share is what was published by Upbeat in September last year. In their recent research that they did, they had 803 schools across the nation with 41 districts, 98,609 U.S. public schools, and from those 803 were used in the study sample. And I know that they did try to pull from very different areas in the study sample. I don't have that specific, but I can reach out to Upbeat and see if they can provide that for us.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Garland.
I guess my question, I don't know whether you can answer it or not. If the legislature is successful in actually passing the bill for the DEI, how would that affect our ability to be able to recruit teachers that's going to represent our community? And what I mean by that, I am a person of color. I know who I am. I know where I am. The bottom line is with the school and the community browning as fast as it is, we definitely need to see more minority teachers in other organizations operations as well. How would that affect our ability to be able to go out and hire teachers based on the real need of the community?
I'm not well versed enough in the legislation to feel confident in giving a good response to that. I will see if any of my colleagues in senior leadership want to chime in on that.
I'll jump in there. I will say that as we receive applications, it is currently, it's not, we're not legally allowed to know any demographic information. You would learn that through the interview process, if that makes sense. So we do not actually track and dig into that on the front end.
It do not make sense to me. And the reason why I say do not make sense is because we need to be specific. We need to be direct in looking for whom we need to be able to teach our children. One of the problems with going to school in a segregated environment is that you didn't have a chance to be able to see somebody that looked like you or look other than you in the classroom. And that's what it's going to get to back in this century if we don't actually do something to try to make that correction. And I asked the question, and I need an answer that is more direct than we can't look at the demographics. I don't care what the legislation in Nashville say. The bottom line is they don't run school systems. Well, they are trying to run school systems, but they don't know the needs of the community as well as the 7 of us on the board.
Let me clarify. It's not that we are not tracking what our demographic looks like. I guess what I'm saying is, as we receive applications, we cannot ask people what is like your background, your racial background, in an application before we meet them. We have that information as far as, and I think we have shared what we have done in that space, and happy to share what that looks like in the continued work in that space. But if it makes sense, on the front end, when we receive an application, I cannot tell by someone's name all of that. We would not ask you for your racial background as you're applying, but we absolutely keep track of what that looks like as far as our demographics of employees.
If that's because of the DEI situation that we have in America today, the record should reflect that black people don't get the jobs. Forget about that. I don't care what people say. We are not the first to be hired, but we are the first to be fired. So the bottom line is, when we actually go out and look for these people, we need to be looking for some people that actually can make this district look better. But anyway, I appreciate all this stuff that you guys do. And like I say, I know that we are trying to do the best that we can with what we have. But we have people in leadership right now that don't understand. They don't understand what it means to be loyal to community, or be loyal to students, or loyal to teachers. All they want to do is to control. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I've made some notes so we can continue to look into that.
Mr. Mabry.
Thank you for your presentation today. How many open positions does CMCSS have right now for teachers?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. I'm not typically on the recruiting end of the piece. I'm more on the retention side of things. But we can probably, I think I see Melissa looking right now, so we're going to hopefully have that number for you. We're also in our transfer window, so I will point that out. Every year, our certified employees have a window in which they can apply for positions that are open in other schools. And during that window, it makes it a little bit more complicated to nail down an actual number, but I think Melissa's looking at that right now.
Did I do it right? Yes, okay. Some of these are for next year, though. So right now, there's 28 high school, 30 middle school, and 83 elementary. So it's a combination. You have some that are still remaining for this year, but a lot of them are new positions, not brand new, but openings for next year following resignations or retirements.
Thank you. And just a follow-up for you. So I would say it's fair to say that with the opening positions, anyone that's qualified that's being interviewed is being hired then.
Well, we want quality, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, yes, I mean, we want quality, and it is a challenge, when we're looking, because that's why you see such an increase in permits, is because there are so few credentialed coming out of the traditional programs. So, yes, first, we're hiring for quality, for sure.
Yeah.
But definitely, there's lots of openings, and so we are doing everything we can. We were at 4 universities last week. We have our big job fair next Tuesday, which is a huge success for us. We do classified and certified with that. Fort Campbell is this week, so we try to do any opportunities we can in the community and surrounding to attract quality candidates to the district.
You guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you for your report.
Thank you all.
Next item is discussion and consideration for live stream board meetings. Mr. Lanier, you asked that to be brought forward, I think. Oh, I'm sorry. Had the wrong person.
Thank you, Mr. Griffey. We've had this conversation on the last board meeting, so I just want to make a motion to approve live streaming board meetings and the proper funding associated with that.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Who made it? No, have a second by Ms. Berry. Discussion. I would like to suggest or ask you to put I'm sorry, Mr. Nelson, didn't see you flashing.
Yeah, so I know there was some discussion as far as having the delay in there. Did we ever come up to a final decision on how that's going to go forward?
Mr. Yes, sir. It is appropriate funding for it. Is my understanding. The thing I was going to ask is delay the timing, and was not in the motion. And that will take care of that. You asked about funding, correct?
Actually, about the delay. We had some discussion about the delay and the editing, or not editing, but the delay because of closed captioning. Have we decided on that and
Yes, sir.
come up with a decision on that?
Yeah, I was going to ask for him to actually change his motion to put a time delay in it for a start date, if you would be so. Go ahead, you're on.
Thank you. Yes, I'll amend my motion to approve live streaming board meetings and proper funding timeframe set by the district accordingly, however they feel the. So I don't want to set an actual date that's arbitrary. So, Mr. Nolan, if you want to give me some language for that, I'd appreciate that.
I think we're maybe talking about two different things. One is the date for implementing the live stream, which needs to follow the appropriate funding because there is a cost, an ongoing cost. So that would be one thing that would need to be added to the budget, whether it's in this fiscal year or starting next year.
Mr. Johnson is trying to speak. He can probably answer the question on the budget.
Yes. So as far as when it starts, and I appreciate saying, basically for us, if approved tonight, we'll get to work in getting bids and looking at prices for vendors. Once that's in place, we'll need a little bit of time to test the system. I believe there would be no, and I'm looking at my peers back there to make sure they're not going to come after me, but I don't think that there would be any issue with us being able to begin in the next 2 to 3 months once we get through that process. But I do appreciate if it would be informed to not necessarily state, like a July 1st, because we may be able to start a little bit before, or we might run into a little bit of delay. But the last time the motion was made to actually record the meetings, it was similar in the sense that it was when the district was able to get everything installed and ready to go. Of course, that took us longer because we had to install the technology. With this, it's a matter of adding some systems and getting the closed captioning live.
Yeah, so my intent is whenever the district can, with everything you just said. So I don't know if I actually need to make that in the motion. The intent behind my motion is for the district. So again, I'll just say I'll make the motion to approve the live streaming board meetings with the proper funding.
And the second thing, if I can, I think the question around the delay, that's really going to be up to the vendor we work with as far as how long that delay is. I should have asked Skip before this meeting. I apologize for not doing that. I believe with the Montgomery County, it's about a 10-second delay that allows that feed to come back and forth. Of course, if the board decided that they wanted to have any bit of a longer delay, I think we could work that out technologically. I just don't know. But typically the delay just happens because that stream goes to the person who does the captioning and comes back. Then it's about a 10-second, I believe, delay.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any further discussion on the issue? So we have a motion for the live streaming to begin as soon as the funds are in place and the technology is in place, with not being a confirmed date on that, but it doesn't have to start next month. Any other discussion? Please open the vote. Are all members satisfied with your vote? Please close the vote. We had some mechanical issues there. We had 6 no votes, and 1 won't pass it. So let's try it again. Please open the vote. Are all members satisfied with their vote? Please close the vote. Pass 7-0. Next item, proposed modification to EL5 and EL6. Dr. Linnevetter.
Board members, in your packet, you have the information on EL5 and EL6. We'll start with EL6. Essentially, what it is doing is, as we've had inflation and extensive costs over the years. It is updating to more current costs. It actually aligns with the county and with Austin Peay State University and what they're doing. It was recommended from the comptroller that when we look at the formal bid process, that we go up to a $50,000 amount. In the case of an emergency, $25,000. Many emergencies are going to, even if you have to call in ServPro, something like that, to do an extensive cleanup. So the recommendation was to go to 50,000 to more closely align with the actual costs in the case of emergency. EL5 goes hand in hand with EL6. So essentially what it does is it allows the director of school to commit to a single non-budgeted purchase up to 50,000. So in case of an emergency and we did not have to do the bid, we would be able to expend the actual up to $50,000. Of course, through that process, board members would be made aware if that was occurring, and there would be communication occurring. But that is the reason for the request.
Need a motion to accept these changes to the policies. Motion of Mr. Garland, is there a second? And a second of Mr. Rainier. Any discussion? Please open the vote. Is everyone satisfied with their vote? Please close the vote. It passes 7-0. Next item, comments before Campbell School Liaison Officer.
Thank you, Board and Dr. Luna Vetter. I'd like to share a few quick highlights from Fort Campbell. Thank you, Dr. Luna Vetter and the students, for your support for the Garrison's START meeting. It was truly an honor for Colonel Midbury to recognize and coin 8 outstanding high school senior junior ROTC cadets for their leadership and dedication. We're also excited to share that Fort Campbell 101st Airborne Air Assault Band will be visiting several schools as part of Music in Our Schools Month, providing students with hands-on learning about musical instruments and the power of music. Looking ahead, April is Month of the Military Child, a special time to honor and strengthen resiliency for our military-connected student. We're excited to celebrate Purple Up Day together on April 15th as a community. A link has been sent out to anyone who would like to purchase a shirt to be in unison with Fort Campbell. Thank you again, board members and Dr. Luna Vetter, for your continued dedication and support to Fort Campbell.
Thank you. CMCEA President.
Good evening. As we all know, the Tennessee General Assembly adopted a universal voucher bill, which I've talked about numerous times, and I'm not going to talk about it tonight, so I'm just going to talk about something else that has to do with it. I want to address the $2,000 bonus for the K-12 teachers that was included in that legislation. We recognize the inclusion of the teacher bonus for what it was, a bribe to entice support for bad policy. Even though it is being given for the wrong reason, the bonus is deserved by educators who work every day to ensure Tennessee's public school students have access to great education. The Clarksville-Montgomery County Education Association calls on this board to adopt a resolution affirming the school district's participation in Section 4 of the Education Freedom Act, ensuring that hardworking teachers in our district will receive the one-time $2,000 bonus. Your parent organization, the Tennessee School Board Association, has drafted a sample resolution that this body can adopt and submit prior to the deadline this spring. A one-time bonus, however, does not diminish the significant work ahead of Tennessee to ensure that public schools have the necessary resources to support both students and educators. Tennessee students need more time to learn, and teachers need more time to teach. The General Assembly should be looking for ways to reduce high-stakes standardized testing, allowing for more meaningful assessments that focus on student learning rather than test preparation. Tennessee must also implement initiatives to recruit and retain qualified teachers thereby addressing staff shortages and ensuring diverse and effective educators in every classroom. A key component of this type of professional investment is to ensure competitive salaries, professional development, and resources to enhance teaching quality. As the legislative session progresses, we urge all community members to closely follow what's happening in Nashville, for the decisions made there have a real impact on our community and our school district. Moreover, following the passage of the Education Freedom Act, the governor and lawmakers assured us they are not abandoning our public schools. Honesty is one of Tennessee's core values, and it is imperative that they keep their promise. Those of us here in CMCSS are counting on it as we continue working to make our community the best place in which to live, teach, and learn. Thank you.
PET representative.
Good evening, school board members and Dr. Luna Vetter. It's at this time of year when I'm writing my 20th IEP that I'm also wondering, okay, I can do this in 45 more days. I can finish it up. But anyway, I was thinking today that words matter. Any words that we use with people matter. And there's so many bills floating around on the Hill in Nashville right now. There's some that are even duplicates and triplicates of bills that are floating around. I could share some insight on some of the most important ones, but in a few short weeks, that information will probably have changed and the bill's gone through so many revisions, or some will not even have made it out of subcommittee. So what I feel is most important to share at this time of year as the TCAP season approaches is that words, action, and cultivating relationships matter more than any test score. If the encouragement is there through words and actions, then students will be motivated to try their best. You may have heard this story before, but I think about this story often because it motivates me to do my best every single day. So it bears telling again, so just bear with me. So Miss Ashby walked in to meet with the principal after school one afternoon, and you know if you get called to the principal's office, you think one of two things. What have I done, or what am I going to have to add to my plate now? The principal proceeds to explain to her that her co-teacher has resigned due to family illness and that she will need to be taking over her class for the rest of the year. Her co-teacher has the worst class in the building. The entire class is failing. Behavior is atrocious. Absenteeism is chronic. So we know, all of us educators, we know we roll up our sleeves and we get to work. Miss Ashby decides to go to the counselor's office and read through the student files. She has to know what she's up against. As she opens the file drawer, she finds the expected list of her new students, and to her astonishment sees some extraordinary information that is quite interesting. Jimmy, 130. Sandra, 115. Wayne, 100. Don't tell Wayne I used his name. Dr. Causey. Charlie, 111. Denise, 138. Karen, 140. The numbers continue to go on in that particular area. So as she continues to read down the list, her frustration grows. Next day, she storms into her new classroom and proceeds to lecture the class that she has seen their files and information and cannot believe that they're not working to their potential. That ends today, she said. I will expect nothing but your best from now on. You may think you have the school fooled, but you do not have me fooled for 1 minute. So the students sat up straighter in their chairs and looked at each other, shock on their faces. From that moment on, each student gave their best for the rest of the year. So fast forward. When TCAP testing was completed and the test scores were returned, the entire faculty was shocked. My favorite English word is gobsmacked. To see Miss Ashby's class outperform the entire grade level. When asked by the principal later how she turned the class around, she just sniffed and said, I read their files. And I looked at their IQ scores from the past year. What scores? Asked the principal. You know, the list that's in the front of their file, she said. The principal became very quiet and said, Miss Ashby, those numbers are their locker numbers. So you see, perception and belief is powerful. We have to believe in each other. We have to motivate each other with words and actions. So remember, there's a sign on my door at school that says it's not who you are that holds you back. It's who you think you're not. So expect the best from students and go from there. I'll expect the best from my colleagues and my school board members. Thank you.
Comments by county commissioners? Comments by board members? Mr. Garland?
I have a positive announcement, believe it or not. There's going to be a concert on next Saturday. It's going to be at First Missionary Baptist Church, 301 Fairview Lane. I think it's going to start at 5 o'clock. It's going to be in honor of Mr. Gilmore. We're going to have groups from all over Clarksville and the Nashville area coming in and performing. We're coming to look for offerings for the family. Whatever is going to be raised will be given to the family in honor of Mr. Gilmore for the work that he's done for the district, and also to try to encourage the family and let them know that we love them, we care for them. We want to make sure that they have what they need to get the job done. Thank you.
I don't see anyone. It's kind of strange. All right. Director, school report.
Good evening, board members. Students, faculty, and staff members, as you have heard, returned this week from spring break. The teachers and students are diligently preparing for these last few weeks prior to the beginning of state testing. The longer days and sunshine combined with the break seem to have rejuvenated everyone to finish strong as we enter the last quarter. Later this week, we are looking forward to celebrating all of our seniors who are third-year academic award recipients. A huge thank you to the CMC Education Foundation, who ensures that we honor all of our students who have worked so hard academically throughout their high school career. Mr. Griffey, this concludes my remarks for the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Vetter. And that concludes our agenda. This meeting is adjourned.